Good morning, everyone. It is March 23rd, the next to last Wednesday of the month. It's gone by fast.
Wow.
I mean, a little March Madness. And this is Coffee Pan Dulce or Pan Dulce or whatever. But anyway, we've been rolling along pretty fast here in March. And it's just kind of hard to believe that we're almost in April. I mean, we're 2/3 of the way. It's just kind of weird. I don't know.
Yes, spring has started. Oh, I'm doing great, Jenny. How are you? I haven't seen you in such a long time.
Yeah,
wow,
at least 24 hours.
Yeah, at least. Well, listen, everyone, welcome. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jen. I was interrupting.
I'm involved with a lot of LGBT local things,
yes.
And one of the things that I help with is a safe space for gaming, like esports, so like video games and tournaments and stuff. But we had our monthly tournament yesterday. We had a couple drag performers and esports tournament.
You mean on Sunday?
Yeah, yesterday. Yeah. Well, for full disclosure, we always tape on Monday nights now so that we have editing time and we can, put our podcast out on Spotify and do all that stuff.
All those
we didn't used to do.
Crazy places.
And we don't go live anymore, so we can have guests from all over the country like we have today.
Exactly. Yes. Well, as Jenny said, welcome to Coffee Pan Dulce, everyone. I'm Christian Cano, one of your co-hosts, along with Jenny Gunn. Barb Bacon should be joining us. She may be popping in. She's doing some marathon training, or I can't remember exactly what she's doing. She's doing some really good stuff. And then, of course, Mama Ruth is on hiatus, so we're Mama Ruthless tonight. But we do want to thank you. Today is March 23rd, the fourth Wednesday. Is that right? Am I doing that right, Jen? The fourth Wednesday of March. You get 5 Wednesdays. You get to see us 5 times this month. 5. What was your 5?
It's like a bonus.
Bonus show. So thank you for those who are joining us on Facebook Live, but also those who watch us on YouTube. And now also those who listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platform like Google, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Spotify, Apple, all of those wonderful platforms. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and go around the Brady Bunch screen and introduce yourself. So before I take them off the screen, I do want to just welcome once again St. Bernie, who is over there. He's been sitting very politely and quiet. He's got the Made in America by Immigrant hand sticker from Manolo's Bakery, which we'll talk about that here in a second. And then also baby Trump Pinata is quietly sitting over there with some Moms About Action stickers and I think a Biden and Harris thing, but he's got a mask on because we keep him shut that way. So with that said, we'll go around the Brady Bunch screen. We'll start with Angela, Jenny, Paulina, and Mr. Cruz. If you'll introduce yourselves in 30 seconds or less. So,
I'm Angela Wynn. I am one of the co-founders of Support Our Schools. We're based out of Sarasota, a local nonprofit, 501c3. Our mission is to wake people up to what is going on in the educational system, kind of open up parents' eyes and kind of help them learn how to advocate for themselves. Because there's a lot going on right now that's not okay. Just to put it in, 30 seconds or less terms. I'll move it on over.
Okay.
I'm just going to say ditto.
Right. We have Paul and Angela that are bookends on that cause. And so I am Jenny-Jaymes Gunn. I'm a local LGBT activist, like I said earlier. I'm involved with Charlotte Pride, Stonewall Sports, and many organizations, including the National Organization for Women Charlotte chapter, where I was elected as the first openly transgender woman on their board locally, not nationally, but locally. And move it. Do you want to go ahead and go, Paulina?
Sure.
Or did your ditto stand?
No, I'll expound on that.
Yeah, go ahead and tell people who you are.
Paulina Testerman. I am also a co-founder of SupportOurSchools.com. We are a Sarasota-based not-for-profit, and we are certainly interested in educating parents. There's a really great cartoon I recently came upon, Tom and Jerry cartoon, where Jerry is sitting on top of Tom's head and he's prying his eyes open. And that's how I see myself. I see like we are trying to pry the eyes open of parents who have been working parents are busy and they've got a lot going on. It takes a lot to run a household nowadays. And I think a lot of parents don't think that education, they don't have time to really focus on it. We really want to help them recognize how important it is to make sure that all children have access to education. And right now there's a lot, as Angela said, of bad stuff going on. So we want to help parents know what's going on so they can advocate for their children.
And my name is Greg Cruz. I am the founder of Streets of Paradise. I'm also a community organizer. And that's what I do. Streets of Paradise is a nonprofit organization here locally. And we're part of the Housing First system. And we provide furnishing once people are housed through one of the various agencies locally.
Well, excellent. Thank you. And I'm Christian Cano, once again, one of your co-hosts. My buttons are healthcare for all, our Medicare for all, healthcare for all, Moms Win Action, Gun Sense legislation, and in my heart, Black Lives Matter, on behalf of Joe Oldham, who was a guest of ours who passed away in 2021. So with that said, let us, today's topic is actually called Movement to Save Traditional Public Schools, and then on the smaller line, from Trump's white CRT parents. So I'll explain kind of why I wanted to kind of name it like that. But before we do that, speaking of 45, because I promised Barbara I wouldn't mention his name, I just call him 45. But speaking of 45, on Monday on Fox News, I don't know if anybody wants to comment on this. You know, we normally would do current events, but since we have a great show today, on Monday, 45, President 45 was asked about climate change, and he said, let me just make sure that I get him exactly. He said, what did I tell you? He said, Jenny, he said something about there's always been weather. It changes, kind of. Yeah, it's
somebody asked him whether he believed in climate change, and he responded.
And there's always been, in his opinion, I'm paraphrasing that because I can't find it. In his opinion, there's always been weather. Weather goes up and down. And so we have to give him credit. He's not blaming China and India anymore for it. And so, and remember, he said it was a hoax. It was a Chinese hoax to destabilize our economy or something like that. So anyway, does anybody want to comment on that in 30 seconds? So before we go into this very serious topic about schools. Jen, I know you always want to say something. Or whoever.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. You know, at this point, it's just really turned into a comedy show. I mean, Dr. 45 there in his infinite wisdom of weather change and just is. I don't even know why he opens his mouth on science. I mean, honestly, it's just going to go away. We'll just put a little bit of bleach on it with a little cocktail of UV rays. A little bit of horse paste on the back end. It'll be great. Don't worry about it. Come down to Florida and buy some stuff from me. But he's just a huckster. I mean, you know, if he's not selling Trump steaks or fake university diplomas or saying something insanely racist or bigoted, it's like, you know, at some point he is becoming a Saturday Night Live character of himself. Like, he won't even need what's his face anymore. He play himself.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that Trump has never been a big fan of personal accountability. And I think that that's the definition of what global warming is taking accountability for our actions. So it comes as no surprise to me that he's struggling to take personal accountability for anything. Deflect.
Yes. Anybody else want to comment on that before we go to the topic, Angela or Mr. Cruz? No.
I remember learning the difference between weather and climate, like in fourth grade. You know?
Yeah. Well, okay. Perfect segue. You threw me a good softball there. So the reason I wanted to talk about that is because these are the individuals, the followers of 45, especially. These are the individuals that have been bombarding our schools, as we talked about 2 weeks ago on show with the ladies here support our schools. These are the individuals that want to run our schools. So that should be a very big concern of us. That, to me, I think climate change that's something that we debated 5-10 years ago. And so the fact that we're still talking about that, and there was an actual report that said that young Republicans, by 70-something%, are concerned about climate change and so forth, and social issues. They're not even at all on the same page as Donald Trump, and many of them did not vote for him specifically because of that. So he's not even, anyway. So with that said, let's talk about the movement to save traditional schools. The show that we had with the ladies here on Support Our Schools has now over 6,000, I forgot how many thousand, and 3.9 thousand views. And that's just the video views. On the audio, we don't actually know yet. So let's kind of talk about that. These are the individuals that want to run our schools. And the last show we talked about Support Our Schools, and it was a great show. I watched it several times. Now we need to talk about why this is important, I think, for our Black and Brown communities, parents. And so where do you want to start, Jen?
I mean, obviously, we've seen a defunding of public schools. We've seen a deprioritization, especially in communities where Black and Brown neighbors are the dominant force in that local school district. Like CMS, for example, the dominant population in our public schools here in this county is Black and Brown families. And so obviously with the new version of segregation, which is moving into some kind of weird, wonky privatization of schools, they figured out another way to go around desegregation again, because they're just slippery like that. And you got people like Betsy DeVos that pitched for 4 years of privatization of schools. She owns her own university. I don't know if she knows how to spell university, but she does own her own university, and which is just fabulous. It's just, I think they put their diplomas on bar napkins. But these are the kind of brain trust that started with George W. Bush and started this in Texas and started doing the whole idea of privatizing basically public infrastructure utilities, power, schools, all the things, prisons. And one, for is a money grab, and two, quite frankly, they're like, oh, you know what? It's changing again. We lost in court for 20 or 30 years, and now we've got to come up with these other plans.
Sure. So, ladies, I apologize for saying ladies. I should just call you by your names. I apologize. That's kind of misogynist for me to do that, and I'm recovering from being a misogynist.
I've been doing therapy for about 3 years on you, and it's
I apologize.
Well,
last week, on the last time you were on the show, you basically we talked about that. We talked about critical race theory, kind of, how they have been bringing that up is they want to keep that from our schools, and even though it's not really taught in our schools, but that's their big thing. And so, what do you think? I mean, I don't know. And I guess maybe we can dig deeper. And I'd really like to get Mr. Cruz in this. How do you think this is going to impact our Black and Brown parents with these individuals trying to take over our school boards and teaching and curriculums? Anybody? Well,
I think it's going to impact them the way Black and Brown communities have been historically impacted in most of the systems that have been created. So this is going to be no different. It is kind of sad that what they choose to call an issue is really not really an issue. It's an issue to them. It's not an issue to me or most of us, especially those of us who look beyond the dog whistle part of it and actually are educated and understand what CRT curriculum is, where it's taught, the framework, and within why it was created, and so forth. So it doesn't bother me. It's definitely not a threat. It is sad that we're headed, because we're headed there really fast. Been involved in school board issues back with Nate years ago with the bathroom issues we were having. So I've been the nastiness of the school board now for many years, and I haven't seen anything different or that shows me that they're trying to make an effort to provide anything different.
Christian, you said that there's these parents who are supporting 45, and these parents are just not questioning anything. These are the same parents. I heard a statistic recently that something like 55% 95% of parents didn't want Arabic numerals taught in schools. I mean, that should tell you that should tell you who these parents are, who just lack the ability to question what they're being fed. And that's what this is parents who just, they're listening to people who they consider politicians who are educated on the subject. And these politicians are just, oh no, CRT is being taught in our schools. And these parents just say, oh no, if they think it's bad, it must be bad. Nobody questions it.
Yeah.
On that a bit, I think it's a little frightening because they're making these issues out of nothing. They're saying, here, let's worry about this. We're going to create something that's not even in existence and I think we talked about this last time, to create this anxiety in these parents. But what's going to end up, what is happening is, yes, they're focusing on all this, but who's going to take the brunt of it? Our Black and our brown students, because they're going to be even more prejudiced against them. So they're creating this issue, and whether it exists or not, our students are the ones who are going to feel it. And that's completely unacceptable from these politicians, but they don't care.
Yeah.
And we are going to take a quick break. So we will take a 15-second break and we'll be right back.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching our Coffee Pan Dulce Show every week. Don't forget, you can watch us visually on our video podcast platforms on Facebook and YouTube, but you can also listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all of the other ones that your favorite, whatever your favorite is. Once again, thank you for watching us on Coffee Pan Dulce. We'll dance out.
And we are back.
Thank you. Welcome back. Oh, sorry, Jen. I didn't talk over you there.
You know, I do feel like most of the like the Bobberts and the MTGs of the world, I think they're kind of confused. I do think they think CRT is like a Honda or something like that too. So I think there is a little bit of an issue, you know, and they get excited because they think maybe they get a free box of wine with it or something too. But just going out on a limb. But anyway,
but you know, but Jenny, that's, to me, this was so scary, and I'm laughing only because I just don't think, I know here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and wherever the people are watching this, wherever you're at, most people who watch us actually are California and Florida are two top, and then North Carolina is third. I don't think the parents who have kids in public schools understand that. I don't know that they understand that these individuals who don't believe in climate change, who are saying CRT, they don't want our kids to critically think and all. I don't think they really understand that this is happening. I mean, I'm laughing because I'm like, no, that, you know, I think if you told like a parent who's maybe not as engaged as all of us are, they would go, nah, that's can't be the case.
But I also think too.
The reason I say that, Jen, sorry to interrupt you. In my neighborhood, I have a lady who's running for school board up the street who doesn't have any kids in our public schools, but wants to be on the school board. And I was thinking of this last show that we had y'all on. Y'all have a person whose child is in private school, I believe. It's like, why would you elect someone who doesn't have any kids in their public schools? Anyway, so that's, Jenny, go ahead.
Well, the one thing I was going to say is that I think a lot of parents are also living life, and one of the downsides is, especially when you have young kids. I raised 3 kids, and especially when my youngest 2 were at home in elementary school, middle school, especially, you're trying just to tread water. So a lot of the hair on fire conservatives that, you know, went from, you know, communism to Red Scares to, you know, every kind of, you know, to banning Arabic because it just may possibly, you know, blow up a building or something. I mean, this bizarro mouth breather mentality that you get from these conservatives that just literally, they don't care what they're saying. They're the only thing they care about.
It's better to repeat the lie.
Selling fear.
Yep.
Fear sells.
Yep.
And I had this discussion today with somebody that does some transitional treatment on me. And And one of the biggest points that we both agreed on is selling that fear, just shoveling that manure and just letting people choke on it and just going, if the world's on fire, if the world's on fire, if the world's on fire, just like the abolitionists in the 1850s saying, slavery's wrong. And they said, well, what if we let them go? The black man's going to run across the countryside and he's going to rape your women and eat your kids.
Yeah.
Literally said that in newspapers all over the United States.
No, it did not. Really?
And of course, 1865 came and went. Emancipation Proclamation kicked in, and there was no roving bands of black men raping women and eating kids. And okay, so that's scary. This is the same way I go through right now with the transgender bathroom bills, and them giving me the stink eye that I need some kind of bathroom police or something like that. What?
Hey, I'm Christian Cano. I wanted to thank you so much for watching our Coffee Pan Dulce shows. I also want to thank you so much for watching us on our video podcast, which is on Facebook and YouTube, but also for listening to us on our audio podcast shows on your favorite audio podcast platform like Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podcast Chaser, and many more. Once again, thanks for watching us and listening to us on Coffee Pan Dulce. Bye, y'all.
How do you combat that in your personal life? And how do you incorporate that into your advocacy and the good work that you do?
Oh, that was...
Yeah, I was like, you can put him on the spot. He's like...
There's a lot there.
It's one of those things, my advocacy in my community, the work I do in the community is all tied into trying to even the playing field for marginalized communities and that type of thing. And part of the reason why is I know, just like a lot of us know, we know how things were set up. We know what's going on now. We know that people are using their power and money to insert their own personal politics and beliefs into areas of our personal lives. And it's hard to watch. It's just hard. It's just really hard. It's really upsetting. I watch school board meetings and my mind is blown that these are adults, like these are grown-ups, and I'm listening to what they're saying, the way they're saying it, the way they're presenting their arguments or their opinions, and it's backwards, But at the same time, I know that this is what it's pretty much always been, that fact is always not lost on me. It's just polarized now. A lot more people are seeing it now, but this is what I've always school board meetings and, for the most part, the silencing of voices and communities and people.
And trying to rewrite history, trying to whitewash the history, because back to that same point, nobody wants to be held accountable. I mean, these are parents who, are these parents teaching children to be accountable for their actions? My children make mistakes every day. You correct their mistakes. You take accountability. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I'm going to work harder not to do that again. But these parents aren't doing that. They're taking no accountability for history, for what's happening in our present day, and they're trying to erase things.
And another good point is to show how much this is not really about history or anything like that. I mean, none of them have an issue that their children are still being taught, or children are still being taught that Columbus invented, founded, America was the first person, that's still being taught. There's no petitions against rewriting that or trying to correct that.
I thought, sorry to interrupt you, but I thought I think it was Angela or maybe it was you, Paulina, said the last time you were on a couple of weeks ago. What you said I thought was really interesting, because what you said is that about there are no, we don't value experts or something, I think, paraphrasing kind of what you said. And just as I don't want me or Jenny to run school boards. I love Jenny. I want experts to run schools and school boards and curriculums and so forth. And so why do you think that these individuals that are trying to change traditional public schools and so into their mold, why do you, I guess I'm just confused on why there isn't a lot more parents upset about that. I mean, what are you getting? What are you hearing? You know,
let's also remember where we are. Also, you know, this is Sarasota County. It is a red. You know, the majority is a Republican majority county. Sure. By 2-1.
But I don't see, like, for example, here in Charlotte, North Carolina, where Jenny and I are, there's not a lot of grassroots uproar from our Black and brown parents here. The only parents that I'm seeing at the schools that are trying to stand up against this are more progressive, maybe progressive moms and so forth. There's not a lot of, I debate this all the time within our Latinx community. There's this cultural, I don't want to get involved, but I don't understand why there's not upset,
well,
because
that was a perfect word that you brung up, cultural. And, you know, historically, culturally, that voice, especially when that voice is against any of the systems. Historically, the peg, we've never been able to move forward. So in a lot of, you know, just think about if you're, you know, a Black or brown single person, got children, daycare, this, that, you already have other things on your plate. And, you know, just because of the way things are, at a school board meeting is, even though it is important to you, you might not have the space, or, you know what I mean, to create the time to be able, and it doesn't mean that Black and brown parents don't want to be involved. It's just, you know, with all of those factors, taking all of those factors into place, it is harder. You know, another thing, access. You know, having the access to get to the school board meeting is further out in the county. It's not just, you know, so there's obstacles you have to think of, you know, besides people not just wanting to be involved. Because I'm sure if it was just, you know, being able to be involved, be there, it'll be a different story.
I mean, there's a wage gap between races. What a Black man earns and what a white man earns. How do you expect Black people to be showing up when you're already telling them that they are valued less? You're already telling them, just based on what you're paying them, that they are valued less. So it's got to be hard to find that voice when you're already, it's black and white. And I laugh at the irony of it, but I mean, just look at the differences in what their earnings are.
So is that, just to add one more thing, and I know Jenny wants to jump in and then we'll have to take another break. Is that like what the conversation we're having right now? That's what this Moms for Freedom group and all those groups that, you know, have started showing up at these school board meetings. That's what they don't want, right? They don't want our school children to learn these things. They don't want our school children to be offended. I'm paraphrasing kind of what they say, but they don't want them to be explained that there has been racism in this country, that there is, you know, things like this. And so that's really what they want, right? I mean, that's what they're trying to prevent. Is that correct?
I mean, the circle of poverty is like a hamster wheel. And when you keep populations redlined, segregated, upward mobility is stopped for certain populations and encouraged with other ones. And you see that stymieing of education because of income issues, because of lack of resources. You keep people on a certain treadmill. And my family, my dad's immigrant family, is a prime example of upward mobility for white people, for white Europeans, for example, whereas I'm on that side of the family, a second generation American. My dad's a first. He was 6 of 6 kids at a broke immigrant European family that was very, very, very poor. And when my dad went to college, because of the way America was, he was able to go upwardly mobile. And even more so for me, because I had the advantage of wealthy parents, wealthy white parents. And so that track, I never knew poverty. I never was running in circles where I saw poverty, other than my great parents on that side were lower income, but they were not, but they were rural low income. And you just when you don't see it, you don't believe it.
Sure.
And there's a lot of denial that a lot of people in white communities that think it's just, we're laying on guilt on white people. It's all our fault. And that we're trying to shame white people. And we're like, no, we need you to understand. We need to be involved with all the communities. That there
that's the thing I don't understand, Jenny. Let's take a quick break and then I'll ask this question. So we're just going to take another quick break and we'll talk about the show that comes on after this one on another social media page. We'll take in a quick break.
Hello, everybody. Hope you tune in to Two Queers in a Truck. It comes on right after Coffee and Pan Dulce. Appreciate you always watching and being there for us. I hope we can entertain you and be in your homes or wherever you listen to us. We're also on Spotify and many other places where you receive your podcast shows. Thanks for listening. Bye. Have a great week.
Bye, boo-boo.
I think we just lost.
Well, thank you. Welcome back. Yeah. Well, thank you. Welcome back. And so that's kind of what I don't understand. What I don't understand is, I understand what the parents are saying. The parents are saying that we don't want to let little Johnny and Julie, we don't want them to feel offended. We don't want them to feel as if though, racism occurred and critically think.
I don't think that's it. I don't think, let's go again back to my parents for just a second.
Sure.
My mom was 10 years old before she saw her first person of color.
Okay.
Because she grew up in a segregated North Texas town.
Okay.
So they had a specific side of town for people of color and a certain side of town for white people.
Okay.
And there was, and so when you don't see, like, if I didn't grow up that way. I grew up in San Antonio, a multicultural city. Sure. I don't ever remember a part of my life where I did not. I was surrounded.
Sure.
Like, it's 62% Hispanic, LatinX in San Antonio, Texas. So it's it was very integrated. Sure. But you can't have compassion for somebody that you don't understand. And the same way with being transgender, very few people actually have an interpersonal friendship or a knowledge of trans people. So it's harder for people. It's easy for people to have apathy or hate towards me. You don't know who I am. But if your kid has to sit next to a child of color, if you have to learn alongside, would you sit there getting to the history part of slavery and Civil War, and you look across the aisle and you see your neighbor there?
Yeah.
How can you not feel the pain? How can you not feel the disgust for that tragedy?
Sure.
That representation.
But if you have a very monochromatic classroom and some special school,
sure,
for predominantly white kids only, how can you develop that compassion and empathy for our neighbors of color? And that is the whole idea. It is not to not teach something or anything like that. But the most important thing of schools, in my humble opinion, is socialization.
Yeah, social emotional learning. That's actual benefits of CRT. Exactly what you just explained. That is a very important aspect of education.
But I guess my question is
segregation kills that.
Well, but I guess that's my question, and maybe Angela and Paulina or Mr. Cruz, you can kind of. I asked this last time. I don't understand why these parents who are trying to, take over the school boards and curriculum and so forth, why they don't want that for their kids. What do they think is going to happen? I don't. what do you think is going to happen for their kids to be more diversely educated?
Let me put it in terms like this.
Sure.
This is, I think personally, this is what's happening right now with what we're seeing, right?
Sure.
I feel first time in history, white supremacy is really under attack for the first time in history. Really polarized. People are fighting against it. It's not allowed in spaces it's been allowed to thrive in the past. And I feel that is making people clutch their pearls, and they're just trying to hold on. Thing honestly, it's a power grab. They don't care, and they're not thinking of the long term real effects because they're so caught up in the moment. Because you know their privilege could be coming to an end. It could, you know what I mean?
Yeah, their days are. I mean, we talk about this all the time on this show that their days are numbered. By 2026. This will be a majority minority country, in many states and districts are already that way. And so, you know, with our millennials, you know, they're thinking and there are issues that are not even an issue with them, but for Gen Xers, you know, it's a huge issue for them. It's like, that's just no brainer. Go ahead, Jen.
If you put the long, conservatives are always good at the long narrative and what I call the long con. And they've got to pitch some kind of sneaky version of income segregation and community segregation, because when we do flip the switch and white people are the largest minority, it's over. So whatever they institutionalize now and normalize now is going to be what's going to go into that new era in just a matter of 4 short years. And we can look back at Jim Crow. We had 100 years of some version of Jim Crow, but it was the hard pitch coming out of the Civil War and going, we don't really need too much of that Reconstruction. We kind of liked it the way it was. We squeezed Republicans out of the South at that time, and the Southern Democrats that are now the Southern Republicans said, we've got a new plan for you. And they devised a plan of separate equal and all kinds of other things. Sure. And this is literally the rebranding of separate but equal.
So let's get back to the group that these ladies have started. And Greg, are you part of this group? Is that right, or affiliated somehow? I mean, what can y'all do?
Greg's a local activist who fights for bridging the gap with, you know, anywhere there's a gap in a need in our community. Greg is quick to stand up for that. And so we work independent of one another, but we always are building coalitions together and working together for the betterment of our own local community.
So what can the parents that are watching this, you know, if I know they know what's going on if their kids are in school and they probably don't understand. To me, I don't think they understand how urgent this is. If these parents in this next couple election cycles take over these school districts, it is going to be, you think it's chaos now, it's going to be even more censored and all kinds. What can they do?
I think one of the biggest things US itself is trying to do is educate. I think a lot of parents, I mean, Greg kind of touched upon it earlier. They are barely treading water. They are working 2 incomes. They are, if there is even 2 earning parents in a house, they don't know these issues, unfortunately. Maybe people who are listening to this show or watching it do, but the number one people who are watching need to talk to their friends, need to talk to their community members, educate them about what's going on, because until you know, you get pissed off, until you get mad, you're not going to try and get any change. And so then I think the number is learn about what's going on and then learn about why it's happening. Is it because these things actually do exist, or is it for another reason, an ulterior motive? You can't do that unless you know better. And that's, I think, it's one of our biggest staples with SOS. Getting people to acknowledge what's happening, getting them angry about what's happening, and then kind of showing them, hey, this is what you can do to stop it. Go out and vote. Your neighbors, and show up at school board meetings if you can. But so many people can't. You know, like even getting some of these meetings. Some of these meetings are at 10 o'clock in the morning. I can't go to a meeting, you know, or in a completely different area of the county that are miles away from where people live. So, I mean, there are plenty of other ways that you can get involved without showing up physically to, but education, one.
I say actionable. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Paulina.
No, go ahead, Greg. Go ahead.
I was going to say another actionable, a couple of actionable items is find a local organization that is doing the work. I'm sure they could use people, bodies, numbers, important. So find a local organization that is doing the work, reach out to them, find out, what you could do. Maybe you can only participate online, but at least you're participating and you're in the conversation. Another thing you can do is let's use social media. It's a very powerful platform. Let's share. Not understand certain things. You might not know how to explain CRT to your friends, but you could share a link on your social media that explains it. Let's get the word out like that. Let's encourage our friends to share it the way we encourage them to share, the pictures of our kids, favorite foods, and all that other stuff. Another thing, if you don't have time but maybe have money, that's another thing to see how you can help support one of the groups in the community that are doing the work, whether they need flyers done or they need signs or yard signs and things like that, because the message is very important. And that's one of the things I was talking about this not too long ago where Angela said the difference between the Republicans and the Democrats is the Democrats have a great platform, but the messaging is the greatest. And the Republicans, they're about messaging, but they don't have any platform at all. So we need to kind of find that balance and, do our thing. But those are just a couple actionable items I think that anyone could write from their phone. They could do it right from living room, just 10, 15 minutes to share a link or join a group locally that's doing the work.
One more that you made me think about, Greg, is it's really easy to make a phone call. There are quite a few different, my friend, I think we were speaking about him before we started taping with Disney. He's part of the union, the activists, and he says that they have a whole system where they give you this plug and play almost. Here's the phone number. Here's what you say. Call your people, call your leaders, and let them know where you stand. If this is coming up, if this bill is coming up, let them know where you are on this bill. Do you want them to vote yes? Do you want them to vote no? And the more phone calls that they get, the more people they have stating their opinion, the easier it is to hold them accountable, because they have to keep track of how many of their constituents say yes or no. So if you're, if there's a record of that, then you can be accountable and say, hey, you have 70% of your constituents saying this. Why did you vote that way? So these are things, like Greg said, from your phone. You can do this in a matter of minutes. So
we're gonna. I'm sorry about that. I lost my. Sorry about that.
We're gonna take a quick break.
Yeah, that's what I thought Jenny was gonna do that.
Yes. Up next is Two Queers in a Truck with Jenny and Christian. And hope you guys tune in. We'll see you in about 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. Welcome back. And that last break was telling about the show that's coming on right after this one. So with that said, we only have about 12 minutes left. And so I know last time we did the same thing. We waited to the very end to tell people about we probably should have done this in the beginning as well. Tell us the name of your websites, how they can get a hold of you, all of that wonderful stuff. Who wants to start with that?
Ange?
Okay.
.com. It's pretty easy. I was camping weekend and I ran into quite a few people from in and around Florida who kind of got to talking and asked me what our website was, and they said, oh wow, support our schools. That's so easy to remember. Yes, SOS. Just remember SOS, save our ship, support obviously.com. Well, I guess not obviously.
And Greg, how about your organization? How can they get a hold of you or reach out to you?
Yeah, so you can find us on all social media platforms at Streets of Paradise or Streets of Paradise Inc. You could also check out our website at www.streetsofparadise.org.
Excellent. Hey, Jen, do you have any more questions? Because I have 2 more questions I want to ask.
No, you go ahead.
I have a
You look like
question.
you're bursting at the
Go ahead,
seams.
go ahead.
I
am.
So go for it.
Is a guest allowed to ask questions of the interviewer?
Yes, of course you can. Of course you can.
Christian, you said something earlier and I've been sitting on it. And, you said you have somebody down the street who's going to be running for school board and they don't have children. And you were surprised that somebody without children would want to run. But I think that's a little short-sighted. I think that there's people who want to better our community, and maybe that's what this person is. But I think that maybe there's going to be candidates who, number one, maybe aren't in a committed relationship to have children, or can't have children, or something else. Where I think that it's important that people who are involved care about children, care about public education.
Good point. Yep.
Care about these things because I have friends who don't have kids, and they at the same time they want that their neighbors to be educated, because educated neighbors, it betters everyone, and betters their whole community.
Well, that's
Is the foundation.
That was an excellent point, and I'm embarrassed that I actually said that. What I meant to say, what happened was, what I meant to say was, in this where I live, our school board is about 80% white, and our school district is 70% black and brown. So anytime I see a person who is not black or brown tell me that they want my endorsement because they want to run, I almost say, don't you have someone? It's kind of something. I just wish. Go ahead, Jenny. Save me.
Well, there's a strange relationship with the 3 different local offices: the county, the city, and the school board. And each body has really different makeups of looks. Like our county commission has 0 white men on it.
Yes.
Oh.
Which is very
very progressive county here.
Wow.
Very
and at our city, only has 1 white male on it. Yeah. Ed Driggs. And so
and Matt Newton,
school board,
who's running for judge.
Oh, I forget about Matt. Well, he's not running anymore anyway. So
he's not white. He's really Latino.
But Matt's a sweetheart. So I kind of forget. He's a very progressive white male. I mean, his politics don't line up with his book for sure. But our school board is very Mayberry for some odd reason. It covers the whole county, which is even weirder. And the 2 things I think that maybe why people don't run for school board that are more diverse, it pays the least.
Yes.
It's the county pays the most. And the city office covers such a smaller part of the county. Mecklenburg County, where we're at, is massive. So if you're on a CMS school board and you're getting paid a fraction of what the county people are getting paid, even though you're covering the exact same amount of space, because we have a county-wide school district, I can tell you, there's a lot of people that are going, well, I still got to keep my job and still be on the school board.
They're like, why would I want to put up with that hassle?
And if you're making, and you're typical to the statistics of our county, if you're a black or brown person, you're making 60, maybe 70 cents on the dollar of what your white neighbors are.
Sure.
That's another reason if I'm going to run for an office, it's going to be a county thing.
Well, and I think
I'm going to run for county commissioner for what?
But you know what, Jenny? Yeah, Jenny, what you said was really. I didn't really think about this. And Greg, Mr. Cruz, sorry, I don't know you well enough to call you Greg. Can I call you Greg? Since I call Angela and Paulina.
Oh, well, that's not. We'll chalk that up to your misogyny.
That's right. That was terrible. I know. I'm trying so hard. I got a new haircut. All right. So do you think that it is like, I know within the Latinx community here, they don't because it's a younger community. Only unless you've moved here, the LatinX community is first, second generation, pretty much here. Whereas in a lot of it, like I guess in Florida, there are 5, 6, 7 generations have lived in Florida. Where we grew up in Texas, 10, 12 generations. My family was in 17. I don't know how.
The border moved on him.
Yeah, exactly. My family, the border moved. That's how we became Americans. And so, do you think there's this impression that the local politics or the local stuff is not as important as maybe like the state races or the congressional races or the presidential races?
1,000,000%.
Okay.
That's especially specifically in the communities that I
Sure.
navigate.
Mhm.
It's definitely a big misconception that I have to get out there to the presidential election and the local stuff doesn't really matter. And people don't understand you actually have so much more power locally to make actual change and to affect change in that election than any presidential election or any of those bigger elections. So I've been trying to scream that, at the mountaintop, anybody who's willing to listen, because I know that is something that keeps people in a certain space. So for sure.
So how do we change that? I mean, other than
messaging.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
We need to figure out and get cohesive messaging.
I think the other side has been using fear. I don't know if Greg agrees, but I mean, the other side has been using fear to create that sense of urgency. The beauty in what they did, it's really brilliant. The benefit for us is that we can use the truth to create the same urgency. When we can show the local people how bad it is, and showing them facts and our statistics, where we land in the nation when it comes to how much money we spend per student, how much our teachers are paid. Where we land, if we can show parents that urgency, really instill that in them, they will motivate and they will move. But everyone, it's easier to turn a blind eye. We're busy. I work 60 hours a week. I've got competitive sports. We are crazy. We are schlepping kids left and right. I am a taxi, and that's about it. And I'm taking calls while I'm, at red lights and pulling over, and that's what it is. But if you don't speak up now, if you don't get involved now, it is only going to be so much worse that you will not be able to dismantle the chaos. Get involved.
And it's a lot harder to undo policies once they've already been implemented. So that's is implemented to then want to get up and voice your opinion.
That's it.
What you said, Greg, was really, really important. Here in Charlotte, North Carolina, in Mecklenburg County, our county just released this report. It was about systemic racism within Mecklenburg County and the state of North Carolina. And it was done by one of our county commissioners who's been on our show quite often, Mark Jarrell, and another county commissioner. And what they took clips and how it is done. And what they said was, I'm paraphrasing what they said, and kind of to Jenny's point, the white supremacist individuals, the white nationalists, the people who fear that their days are numbered, even though I don't know why they would fear that, but that's a fear of theirs. It's almost as if though they know their days are numbered. They want to create obstacles to make it as difficult as possible, to stretch it as long. Because to me, the option would be just change is going to happen. Let's pivot. Let's all be happy with the change. They want to like burn the village down. So that way, when that happens, it takes a decade to recover from it. And that seems to be their thinking. It's almost like, I don't know, it doesn't mean, it's like they want to chop their hand off. I don't care if I chop my hand off as long as they don't get to enjoy things. I don't know.
It's like a kid on the playground with a ball. And
exactly.
You can't let me play. I'm taking my ball home with me. I mean, come on.
So, but for a conservative viewpoint,
yes,
this is exactly how they slow down progress: is war, violence, segregation, and that sort of thing. Because when you have a society go through, a 4 or 5 year war, for example, like World War II, for example, from 41 to 45, our technology slowed down a lot of change, a little civil change slowed down a lot. And we didn't see the civil rights movement and change pop up again for quite a few years after World War II. Those type of things, when you put those type of barriers and those type of bandwidth restrictions on human nature, we go to that default, that safe default. Oh, we're in the middle of a war. We can't talk about this. We can't, we're involved with Iraq. We can't do this. And so, because that's human nature, we can only handle so many, like a juggler. There's so many balls in the air we can catch. So as a person.
So are you saying are you saying that they use the war to what?
Oh, absolutely. It's the oldest trick in the book. You can go back to feudal times to now, and war and strife and things like that is the tool of the conservative overlord, whether you are a lord, a lady, a king, a queen, or a president. The mentality of controlling society is violence. And no matter what, violence of voice, violence of actual death and dismemberment, but the more violent you can keep a society, the less it'll progress. And that is why there's a big movement behind guns. There's a big movement behind, always getting us into all kinds of wars. There's a big reason if you got all kinds of a big old military, that's kind of like having a Ferrari and not driving it.
But I understand what you're saying, Jenny, and you sound like a socialist. I'm being sarcastic. I'm being sarcastic. Jenny, I know she's gonna
socialist, and I'm coming for your guns. So there you go.
You sound like one of those commies that are coming. You sound like one of those commies, but I love Putin. That's what they say. So anywho, listen, we need to wrap up here, and I want to thank y'all so much. I'm sorry if I seemed a little kind of distracted because I was trying to see where I wanted to go with this kind of topic, and I didn't. It was kind of, we talked about the last week's show. We had a lady on with the anti-vax. They were anti-vaxxers, and they are now pro-vaxxers. And I had a bunch of questions written down, but it was such an interesting story when she was telling me that I didn't go. So this time, because I remember y'all from last time, I didn't write anything down. So I apologize if I didn't seem like I felt kind of Joe Rogan-ish on this one. I was not prepared. So we'll
blame it on the new haircut.
Yeah, that's right. It's my new.
It's great. It's great speaking with people who take the time to acknowledge that they're working on things that has been ingrained in them. What a privilege it is to be surrounded by people who are willing to take accountability. I am always learning. I am always happy to be wrong. Take the time to show me that I'm wrong, and I will adjust my sails. So I commend you for that. I thought it was very humble of you, and I love that you took it. It was great. It was great.
Don't brag on him too much. I got to put up with him next week. You don't understand.
Yes.
In 15 minutes from now, I got to do another show with him, and that head goes. Those compliments, dole them out very softly. Like look at him. He's already just peaked.
You're pretty. You're kind.
You is smart.
You're smart.
Don't do that to him.
That's right. Okay. With that said, let's go around everybody on screen. Tell us where you're going to be within the next week, or any information you want to tell us, and then we'll end the show. And once again, thank you. Thank all of y'all for coming on. And the name of the organization is Support Our Schools. And then, Greg, what was the name of your organization again?
Streets of Paradise.
Okay, excellent. And so let's go, Jenny, Paulina, Greg, and Angela, if you'll tell us where you're going to be.
Well, you're going to see me again in about 15 minutes with 2 queers in a truck. And then it's Pride season. So I've got all kinds of things going on, and it's primary season here. So our primary is on May 17th, and we have 3 weeks of early voting here in North Carolina, which is coming up on April 28th. So go out there, vote early, vote often. I mean, just vote early. And I was just checking for Republicans. But anyway, get involved, come out, get registered. There's still time. And voting's free, but it wasn't won freely. Remember that. It can be taken away anytime.
Where am I going to be this week? Probably driving kids to sports all week. But aside from that, as SOS, we are working hard to create some real infrastructure and some direction on where we want to take this organization. We are so honored and privileged to have organizations reaching out to us left and right and giving us direction. And we're so thankful for their support. And so we are busy creating that infrastructure and defining us as like I said in the beginning, I identify so much as Jerry sitting on top of Tom in those cartoons, holding those eyeballs open and demanding that parents wake up and look and see what's right in front of them.
And you could catch me Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. I'm out in the community, doing outreach, making those connections. And Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays, I'm at our art gallery. We have an art gallery, which doubles as a fundraising space. It's downtown Sarasota, located at 734 Central Avenue. It's called Love Act Repeat Gallery, and check us out. You can also find us on find the tab on our website. Thank you.
I will be hopefully getting back to Sarasota at some point. I don't know if I mentioned I'm kind of stuck up in North Florida at the moment with a broken down car. But as SOS, we have some presentations that we're going to be giving. The referendum for our education it just passed. So we had a huge win for education in our community, for our county. So that was wonderful. So next up is trying to find the right person to be put in as a school board member. That way we can have somebody who mirrors and exemplifies what we need to happen in the school board. And like Paulina said, trying to fine tune our message so that we can get more people, more parents, more families' attention so that we can help them advocate and kind of take this movement / organization to the next level. Because we need to, even if it's just a whisper at first, I'll keep putting whispers together and then it gets amplified and it resonates with the truth and facts over fear.
Yep. Excellent. Yes, ma'am. And I made a huge mistake, and thanks to editing, we will be able to fix this mistake. I forgot to tell everyone to salute to your neighbors. So whatever you were drinking this Wednesday morning. And the most important mistake, I forgot to mention our Pandusa supplier and sponsor, Manolo's Bakery. Manolo's Bakery on Central Avenue here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Please visit your Black and brown small businesses or any small business during this global pandemic. Buy local, buy small, so please do that. I did want to ask real quickly, how was the paintball tournament?
Oh, good God. Came home covered
I saw the show the other day. Okay, I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. I know the last time you were on here, you said you had to take your son or someone to a paintball tournament. Yes. And so I will be at my local sports bar again. My TCU Horned Frogs lost last night Sunday night in overtime. And so unfortunately, but UNC has made it to the Sweet 16. So has Duke. And some other great teams. So that's why I will be with my mask. I actually was at the sports bar for the last, 3-4 days watching basketball, March Madness. There were people all around me. So today I was feeling a little achy. So thank goodness to the free home tests that were sent to us, because I took one of the home tests and I tested okay. And as I was doing that, it was very easy to do. I took that home test. I think it's just allergies. So I was very happy about that. And so anyway, I just had to do that plug for President Biden for sending us these great home tests. And you can order more than just one now. All right. So anything else, Jen, before we stop the show?
Just real quick. Yeah. You did make sure you use that on the right end, right? That was too easy.
Yeah.
I'll explain it to you later.
Yeah, I don't even. This is supposed to be the family show, Jenny. I know. Okay. All right. With that said, we're going to stop broadcasting. So please, if you're on this, please stay on so we can do a very brief promo. So once again, let's do the magic of technology. That's Tejano music. All right. Bye, y'all. We'll see you next week on Coffee Pan Dulce.
Hey, thanks everybody for watching. It's because of y'all's why we still do this show. We had over 250,000 views last year, and the show keeps growing. And we are on your favorite audio podcast now, like Spotify and all the other ones too. Thanks for watching. Have a great week.
Bye, y'all.
Next up, thanks for watching Coffee and Pan Dulce. Next up is Two Queers in a Truck. Stay tuned.